You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Well, here we go. We're going into our newscast, so by all means, stay in here with us. Well, are you guys excited about the annual meeting? Well, the Watchtower had the annual meeting today. A new book was released, and they're also talking about a new arrangement for the circuit overseers. And we also have news from inside Bethel. COVID has broke out at the world headquarters from what we're learning right now. And a Jehovah's Witness sister is wearing pants in a congregation, and she's actually passing the microphone. And then we also see a brother out in service with blue jeans on. And yet there's another money video saying that if you want to really be a friend of Jehovah, you have to give money. Can you imagine that? Well, anyways, hello, everyone. My name is Rick Fearon, and I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world. And boy, I mean it when I say it, lots of apostates up here, and I know they're coming to where you are. So I'm just thinking here tonight, before I even start the broadcast, I just want to let the people in Florida know we have so many people that call into the program from Florida. We hope you're all safe down there. Boy, that was something else. The news reels that we're seeing and the videos coming out of Florida are really, really something else. So by all means, our prayers are with you folks, and we're thinking of you. And we pray and hope that all things can work out for you in the best possible way. So it's just amazing to me what is happening here in the world around us. We're seeing things going on that we've never seen before. We're seeing inflation. We're seeing these wicked hurricanes. And it's just been terrible here the last few months with what's happening. But the hearts are going out to all those people that have been infected by world conditions and, of course, by the hurricane. And, you know, I wanted to bring this up tonight. The governing body is all talk. They're all talk. And what I mean by that, you know, they, after every broadcast they do on their video streaming, they always say, oh, and the governing body loves you, brothers and sisters. Do they really love you? And I got thinking when I saw these horrific footage coming out of Florida, I got thinking, my goodness, look at all the poor people are going to be displaced, no home to live in. Many of these people are Jehovah's Witnesses as well. And I'm sure many at Kingdom Halls got decimated. I'm sure that happened. But the reason why I even bring this up tonight is I'm really thinking here we have the only, according to them folks, the only Christian organization on the planet. The only one that Jesus really approves of. And, you know, today I was watching television, and there's a furniture company in Houston, Texas. And the man who owns the furniture company, he feels so bad for the people in Florida, and even helped the people when Katrina hit Louisiana back around 2008, 2009, if you guys remember. I think that's when it was. But the point I'm trying to make is this man went out of his way. He just owns a furniture store, and he loaded up a truck with mattresses and tarps and water, and he got a couple other trucks. I don't know if he rented them or what he did, but he had a whole fleet of trucks on his own dime going down to Florida to help the poor people that got hurt and have been displaced by this terrible hurricane. Now, that got me thinking, you know, I don't even know if the man's a Christian, but he certainly does show love. But here we have an organization. Now, I'm not saying anything about the organization's response to Florida. It's too early yet. But I'll be interested to see what they are going to do. But all I can tell you is they're all talk and no action. Oh, they're concerned about the brothers and sisters. And there was a video I was watching on their channel on jw.org, and with all of the problems going on in Ukraine, and of course, a lot of the Ukrainian brothers and sisters, they're leaving Ukraine and going to places like Poland and other countries over there, Hungary and Czechoslovakia. I don't think they call it that any longer, but they're fleeing. They're fleeing Ukraine. And anyways, there was one story I was reading about online about a family in Poland that was going to take in a family from Ukraine, a Jehovah's Witness family. And so the family showed up stone cold broke. And consequently, did they get help from the organization? No. The brothers and sisters in the congregation all chipped in, but that's what they do. They really don't help their own. They talk a good game, like I say, but they're all talk and no action. Now, I got thinking, well, what if something catastrophic happened in this country? I don't know. I don't want to be a jinx here, but let's just suppose that all of a sudden a nuclear bomb went off somewhere in this country. I hope that doesn't happen. But if it did and a bunch of people got displaced and were homeless, and you had, say, 1,000 Jehovah's Witnesses pleading with the organization, could you please take us in? We'll sleep on the floor. We'll sleep outside. We'll bring our tents and camping gear. Can we stay with you folks? Do you think the Watchtower would say, yeah? You think they'd warmly invite the brothers and sisters to come up and spend some time with them? The answer would be no, unless the media was there. Well, if the media was there, oh, this would be a great opportunity, a great opportunity. And then you kick their brothers and sisters off the land. I know that would happen. So they talk a good game, but, they're not really the loving organization you think they would be. But, I'm going to tell you, I was down in Florida. I lived there for 10 years. And when Hurricane Andrew hit Miami, South Florida, that was brutal. I mean, that was like, I think this hurricane's even worse, but that was bad enough. And it was it was a Cat 5, and it leveled South Florida. So I was going to the Jehovah's Witness Assembly Hall in Plant City, and that was a staging area. So all the congregations in Florida were asked to send, their supplies, canned food, blankets, clothing, all of that to Plant City, which we did. And I kind of even coordinated it to a small degree by bringing stuff over there. So they had a gigantic amount of, all the brothers and sisters were generous with money. They were sending blankets, and they had truckloads of stuff that they were going to bring down to the people, the brothers and sisters, basically in Miami. But something, all of that effort and all of the work of putting that all together, from what I heard, they never made it to Miami with the goods. Somehow something got snagged up, and so Watchtower wasn't able to get the goods down to the people. That's what I heard. And I've heard this before, too, even online, and even reading today about a disaster. Another time a hurricane hit, and the Watchtower collected funds, blankets, food supplies. And to tell you the truth, they never got it. So, this happens. And the Watchtower, they're so eager to, we love you, and like it, they make it look like they're reaching out to help every Jehovah's Witness. But I never, in the 16 years of doing our live broadcast here, I have never, ever heard of Jehovah's Witness Watchtower organization giving people a penny. I've never heard of it. And I've asked, is there anyone out there that, yes, who's this?
Hey, Rick, I was going to say, they only help ex-witnesses, I'm sorry, not ex-witnesses, witnesses, and they only help them. And also, I've been told when they do work on your property after it's been destroyed, your house, what have you, they expect the money from the insurance claim that Watchtower does from the folks that had their house destroyed that are witnesses. That's what I've heard. I've done a little research on it, and I believe it's true. So.
Yeah, in fact, I've heard it was true too, Jeff. I've heard the same thing. I've had people call in here and actually say the same things as well. Yes, so it's fast.
Wow.
Rick, can I share something too?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Joe from Colorado. I'm the current emergency manager and incident commander for our emergency management in the county and also the hospital I work at. And one of the things as a logistics officer, we have to make binders with all resources. And we're talking about not only law enforcement, fire, EMS, we're talking about other organizations. And when I got to the religious sector, because, you know, when we have events, we need people to minister to others, especially if we have a big event. And this could be tornadoes, active shooter. You never know what the situation is. Well, I called all the religious organizations, and because you have to call them ahead of time and ask them if they could be put as a resource in the binder, so if they're needed, they could be called upon. Well, when I called the local Kingdom Hall, and I don't think this had anything to do with me being disfellowshipped, because the person I talked to, I actually didn't know the man, the elder, and I told him, I said, we would like to have you on our list so we could use you in the event we have mass casualties, tornadoes, where people could get spiritual assistance. And he actually said, leave us off the list. And I asked him, I said, is there a reason? He said, well, we don't want to get involved in any community activities because they would consider it interfaith. Wow. I kid you not.
Yeah.
So I have almost every religion, every entity that is in my binder in case we need people to come to our hospital or the county to serve the needs, spiritual needs of people. And the Watchtower or the local Kingdom Hall refused to be in the binder. So we cannot call them for a resource. Thank you.
Well, no, that's a good comment, Joe. And I believe every word you said. And everybody listening to this program believes it. That's what these guys do. They talk a good talk, but they do nothing. And, you know, some of the horror stories that we read about the Watchtower, in fact, even this one woman, I got information here to the 6 screens. The son got a hold of me and he gave me some information concerning he's not a witness anymore, but concerning his Jehovah's Witness mother. And the organization never helped him or the mother. They had an alcoholic father, a husband the wife had an alcoholic husband. And the Watchtower did nothing. These poor people were basically on the street. They didn't know what was going to happen to them. They got no help from the organization. Now, we always hear stories of individual people who would kind of step in and help them, and they do. But the organization gives diddly squat. And it's a sad state of affairs. And when I think of this organization stating they're the only Christian organization on the planet, shame on them. Shame on them. Did you see the big trucks from the Good Samaritan? The Samaritan's Purse, I should say. You know, Billy Graham's son. You know, that's a good organization. And he's got big trucks going down there. Does a Watchtower do that? Absolutely not, but we'll give them some time. I know it's still early.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, Rick. Yeah, here's their thought. All these people are going to die at Armageddon because they're not Jehovah's Witnesses. That is their thought right there. So why should we help them?
Well, you might have a point there. You might have a point there, Jeff. That's exactly what they feel. Well, these people are worldly people anyways. But I mean, they should even, never mind the worldly people, they should be helping them too. But they're not even helping their own kind, sure. Jeff. They're not even helping the witnesses, you know?
No, they're not.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Not.
I mean, I'll let Denise speak up. Go ahead. Go ahead, Denise. Yeah.
Yeah. After they built the new world headquarters, they took and they railheaded all their supplies to Texas to auction them off. And I mean, everything, building supplies, vehicles, all kinds of stuff were railheaded to Texas. That very same summer that they did that, Texas got hit by a hurricane. So I got on Reddit and I put an announcement up that I wanted current JWs to let me know if Watchtower provided them any help. And even though all those building supplies and all that equipment was right there in Texas, Watchtower did not release it to help the congregations in Texas.
Unbelievable.
They didn't see Watchtower or hear from them or anything. I asked them, I said, well, who's helping you? And they said, the brothers and sisters are helping other brothers and sisters. There's no one else helping us. And I think that you know, they even have a fund that is supposed to be earmarked for disaster relief fund. Now, where does that money go? I've never seen them use it for anything. I don't know what they do with that money. But it certainly didn't go to hurricane victims, even of their own. Not even their own congregations received help. And also, one other thing I wanted to say, there's a Secret Elders book, y'all know. There's also a Circuit Overseer's manual. And in the Circuit Overseer manual, it says when there's a disaster, the Circuit Overseer is supposed to go around and find out who needs stuff. Well, they can make a list all they want, but nowhere in there does it say that they're supposed to pass the information on to anybody or do anything about it. What the Circuit Overseers are instructed to do when there's a disaster is to go around and remind the rank and file not to miss a meeting.
Not terrible, huh?
So whatever you do, if your house is a disaster, if you don't have food and your car blew away, still try to make the meetings. They're so important. And I'm like, man, I haven't seen the organization do anything to help anybody. I mean, look at what happened in the Ukraine when people were evacuating and witnesses were leaving. All those religions that were up there, they had tents with food and water and all that. And all you saw was Jehovah's Witnesses standing with a jw.org sign. No food to help out with anybody. No, nothing. All they were doing is, I don't know what they were doing, but they certainly weren't helping anybody. And it is so unscriptural and unchristian for them to either help their own or nobody, you know, because they're supposed to help everybody. All the other church groups and all the other people, they will help anybody regardless of what religion they are, whether they have a religion or not. But Jehovah's Witnesses don't. And that goes against Scripture. I'm sorry. That's all I have to say.
Well, it goes against Scripture. It also goes against humanitarianism. I mean, geez, you've got to have, even if they're, portraying themselves as Christian as they are, but there's another factor as well. These people belong to an organization that they started. Do they have any feeling for the people? I mean, people have given them money. People have committed themselves to come to their meetings and learn from them. And at the same time, they do diddly squat for them. Well, thank you, Denise. Denise, we love always to hear from you. That's good. Thank you. Yeah, so that's my feelings on this, and we'll see how the Watchtower reacts to the hurricane, and at least to the brothers and sisters, Jehovah's Witness brothers and sisters, that is in Florida. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, you're on JW World News. This is the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. Now, today is October 1st. Isn't that something? Boy, the time is just moving by so fast. Now, is anyone excited tonight about the governing body annual meeting that they had today? Well, the annual meeting is on October 1st, which is today. And there's much speculation about what went on, but I'm getting the skinny. I'm starting to get some information coming in from what was said. So some of the things that were brought to the attention at the annual meeting, well, one is there's a book. Evidently, there's a new book. And, you know, I look at this as pretty reliable information. I have a man that's been sharing some things from me, and I do look at it as reliable. Now, I can only go on the fact that he's been reliable before, but he's telling me that there's a book that's been released at the governing body annual meeting today, and it has to deal with future prophetic events with a combination of discussion on the books of Daniel, Isaiah, and Revelation. Well, they're going to bring this book out. They're really trying to pinpoint prophetic events. So they love to do that, don't they? Oh, they want to make you feel like, man, I'm right in the middle of this whole thing. So there you have it. We have the Watchtower now with a new book, from what I understand. I mean, I'm taking this as a reliable source. Can't totally confirm it all, but it seems pretty safe that I can at least talk about it here tonight. Now, this prophetic book is going to be very similar to the Pure Worship book. If some of you witnesses remember that, they're really trying to get you sucked into the time that they believe is the final days of the final hours of the final days. I mean, that's where we are right now at the witnesses. But I'm going to say that I go with this is going to be a new book. Also, it's being known that there's a new Caleb video. I mean, that doesn't excite you, does it? That doesn't excite me. I don't watch Caleb videos anyways, but I suppose there's people that do. But there's some things coming out of this annual meeting that are quite provocative, quite fascinating. Well, I'll tell you what, there's more talks and videos exalting the organization's approach to the COVID pandemic. Now, you know, they're patting themselves on the back. They're patting themselves on the back that, oh, look at us. We've helped so many Jehovah's Witnesses to be able to come to grips with what's going on. And we're helping them realize that we saved them from the COVID by encouraging them to get the vaccine. Well, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure that they saved anybody at all. I'm beginning to wonder how many people they probably killed, to be honest with you, by forcing medical issues down their throat. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Rick, they got paid. They got paid for giving vaccinations. That was government mandated, and Walgreens, all the drugstores, what have you, they were reimbursed. So was Watchtower to give vaccinations. So I just wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, we talked about that too, Jeff. Yeah, well, thank you. That's true. So, there was probably something in it for them. I can't give you the exact amount of money they made on it, but we did hear that there was money being offered to religious organizations, and they were going to pay they're going to pay the organizations for how many members they got vaccinated. They put a dollar amount on people that they got vaccinated. That's what we heard. So, the thing is, now they're going to be having these new videos and how they really helped all the witnesses during the pandemic. So these are things they talk about. And if you ever went to an annual meeting, I never did. My wife, Susan, has, and she's witnessed some of their tactics and what have you. But this is a meeting for stockholders primarily. And there are stockholders in the Watchtower. And you say, well, who are these people? Oh, they have a stockholders meeting? Well, that's what the annual meeting is. By law, if you're a corporation, which the Jehovah's Witnesses are, now they're a private corporation. They're not public. They're not on the New York Stock Exchange. But the point I wanted to make with that, by law, all corporations are to have at least one meeting a year. Some corporations have a meeting a month. Some corporations have a meeting a week. The Watchtower has their meeting once a year. and they talk about how much money they made. But the average person goes there, they don't hear any of the financial rhetoric. They don't hear any of that. What they hear about is what I'm talking about here right now, about the new books and about other issues and what the Watchtower is doing, but they don't discuss financial positions with the people who just go there and listen. And they get a number there. Now, I'm not sure. Nobody could kind of, I'm pretty sure this was done on Zoom, but I'm not totally sure of that. I think partly by Zoom. What it is they have Bethelites come in too, and then they do some on Zoom. So I'm not really sure what they did totally this year. It's not quite sure. It seems like they had some there, and they also were on Zoom at the same time. But anyways, it was quite fascinating. Quite fascinating. Some of the other things that are coming down the pipeline, and these are things that also were brought up according to my source. Now, my source is pretty reliable, but, I still say there's an element of who knows at times. But I'm going to tell you what some of the stuff coming down the pipeline is, and you're going to hear a new term. Now, we know about circuit overseers, right? We know the term, and we all know the term a substitute circuit overseer. Well, they're changing some names, terms, and they're upping the ante. Now, substitute circuit overseers will be replaced by a new role. The substitute circuit overseer is now going to be called circuit servants. Well, we heard that before, right? The servants will be appointed directly by the branch office and recommended by the circuit overseers. So just to put this in perspective, I mean, there's elders in the congregation, and then there's ministerial servants. Now what we have is we're going to have substitute circuit overseers, as we've known them. They're now going to be replaced by a new term called circuit servants. So they'll be like a ministerial servant, and the circuit overseer will be like the elder, right? He'll be a step above. So the servants, the circuit servants to be, will be appointed directly by the branch office and recommended by the circuit overseers. So the circuit overseer, as we know him, comes around today and he sees a good brother that's doing a good job. Hey, I'm going to make you a circuit servant. So here we have another title. Now, we've heard the term before. Before circuit overseers were circuit overseers, they were circuit servants, right? All right. I hope you got that part of it, but we'll go a little deeper in any questions you guys can ask. But also we're learning that these circuit overseers will begin recommending brothers for appointment where the elders have not done so. Now, we know how it worked in the past when all of you folks were going to the meetings, what had to take place in a hall. If a brother was reaching out to be an elder, he would have to be recommended by the body of elders to the circuit overseer that would be coming around and to say, hey, Brother Fearon is qualified and we want to recommend him for eldership. Well, the circuit overseer would look at it and he could make the appointment for Brother Fearon. Okay, just using my name for example. So that's what happened before. You had to be recommended. You had to be recommended by the body of elders. They're circumventing that. If the circuit overseer sees something good in a person, he's going to say, make this person a circuit servant, a step below the circuit overseer. Oh my goodness, you can see what the Watchtower is doing. So just to give you an idea, the circuit overseers will in their own judgment add and remove appointed men as they see fit. So, they're not going to. Now, they've been kind of getting away from the organization making that decision the last few years, but they just gave the circuit overseers a little more power. They are the judge and the jury here. If they see a brother in the hall that's reaching out and certainly is qualified, boom, make this man a circuit servant. So circuit servants will possibly either give unofficial visits to each congregation once in every 2 to 3 months. So let me just get this straight for you. It's a circuit servant, not the circuit overseer, But the ones below him, the circuit servants, they're going to be making unofficial visits. In other words, they're going to pop in on you. It's not going to be like a scheduled event. It's going to be an unofficial event. And they're going to pop in 2 or 3 times a month to check on the progress of the body of elders and observe the spirituality of the congregation, sharing in the ministry with as many as possible. Friends, I'm telling you, I got my own feelings on it. I'm sure you guys do too. But boy, I'm telling you, things are going haywire in this organization. But see what it is.
Rick.
Yeah, Jeff, can you hold on? Is this Jeff?
It's Mike from California.
Oh, Mike from California. Okay, Michael, go ahead. I thought it was Jeff. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was talking to a circuit overseer a couple of years ago, and he called that downtime because they're consolidating so many congregations. The circuits aren't as big as they used to be. So he said we call that downtime. So they'll pick a congregation and just go with that congregation. You'll have meetings as regular, and then they'll try to work with the pioneers and many of his friends as possible. So they're calling that he called it downtime. And I said, that's the correct term for it. He said that he told me, yes, they're calling that downtime, that they're going to do that. Now, this circuit servant that you're mentioning, that's new. I never heard that before, but he told me that was about maybe just before COVID, I believe. He told me that. So I guess they were working on something similar to that back in 17, 18. They probably was working on something similar to what you're describing.
Yeah, this may not take effect till next year, but they're putting it in place. And from what I understand, the information that's been given to me is they evidently have been talking about this at the annual meeting this year, which happened today. So this is the information I'm getting. Like I say, it might not be totally accurate, but the source that's giving it to me is very, very reliable. So you're hearing things here tonight that are kind of, boy, I'll tell you, it's kind of rocking, but it all stands fit. See, the organization right now, they're so concerned about the elders being trustworthy. They're not sure. A lot of these elders are stepping down. A lot of these elders are not going along with the arrangements the organization wants them to go along with, like selling kingdom halls off and, hiding child molestation. Many of the elders are starting to get a little bit loyal, renegade from the Watchtower. So they're now they're setting up this other class now of stronger spiritual men, so to speak. So a circuit servant will be higher than an elder. He won't be as high as the circuit overseer, but he'll be in between, and he'll be making unofficial visits to make sure that the men in the congregation are trustworthy men. And if they see some of these elders are not trustworthy, they're going to delete them on the spot. And there's going to be no room for vacillation here. If you have an elder that's running in the opposite way of listening to the orders of the Watchtower, he's a dead duck. So now also the other thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Rick, this is Michael from Ohio.
Yeah, Mike.
I wanted to back you up on your where you heard about the book being released, Revelation, Ezekiel, and Daniel.
Yeah.
My elder friend told me a month ago that was coming out. We had a conversation about that, and he knows that I study with Jewish rabbis. And I told him, I said, well, I hope this works out better than your 1975 date, And he took a little offense to it, and he says, well, what does the Jewish people think about, I said, well, Mark, I said, you're in Ezekiel 38 right now. And the Jewish people, and I know you don't believe this, but the Jewish people are dead set on building that third temple. And I've been to Israel. I've seen the essentials that go into it. If they build that building, they're ready to go. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that. He said, good day. That's the last time I talked to my elder friend.
My goodness, huh?
Of 25 years.
Wow. Well, that's sickening, Michael. Yeah. But that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's what they do, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that comment. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got your email too, and I'm looking forward to being on your show in a couple weeks. Don't forget to
Well,
call me.
you got it. Oh, no.
People,
I've got you right on the list.
Yeah.
You are coming on, my man.
Okay.
You're coming on to tell your story. My goodness. Thank you, Michael.
And this will be for people who are thinking about dropping out or people who have dropped out. Make sure that you listen, because you're going to hear one great story.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Really, you got me sitting on the edge of my seat here. So we're looking forward to it, Michael. Thank you for chiming in tonight. Right. Thank you. Yeah, so we've got...
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say what you were talking about. They're changing the name of the circuit overseers, and they're going to analyze these elders, like you're saying. It was kind of like Hitler in 1944, when the war was going bad for him. He did a purge of his generals to get rid of them if they were not following what he wanted in his orders and everything else. And that's kind of how I see it, is a kind of a purge. And to get rid of elders that do not abide by the governing body's word. How I see it.
Oh, well, that's a good way to see it. Hey, what we're going to do here right now, we are having some technical issues. I am getting reports that there's no screen showing on YouTube, nor on the Facebook. And a number of people are writing in. If you guys are commenting there, I see King of Dots and Southern Brows Lady. Can you see me on here? I'm just curious. Can you see me on here? Go ahead and just comment and let me know that so I can make some adjustments here. Can you see me on YouTube and Facebook? People are writing in. Go ahead and comment, please. Yes, you can see me. All right, so they're good here. All right, so it's good on YouTube and Facebook, but it's on YouTube and Facebook. So, I mean, maybe not Facebook, but we are on YouTube. We're not going to, as long as we're on one, yeah, everyone's saying they can see me. So that's good. We're not going to go back and do anything. I'm sorry if you're on Facebook. Maybe you can hear me. But if you want to see me, you got to go to Rick Fearon 6 Screens YouTube. Rick Fearon 6 Screens Watchtower, Rick Fearon 6 Screens YouTube. And you can pick us up over there. All right, so let me just get into this a little bit deeper concerning the annual meeting. Now, the changing names, I just want to correct Jeff, who was just on talking. They're not changing the name of the circuit overseer. That name is staying the same. They're creating a new arrangement, I guess you could say. They're going to call it circuit servant. So they're going to have circuit overseers still, but below them will be a circuit servant. And that'll be like a lower servant, but they will have a lot of power. They'll have a lot of power. And what they're being used for, they're being used to spy. They're being used to come into the congregations and to be able to examine the congregations unofficially. And from what I gather, they're not going to be saying, now the circuit overseer, he comes every 6 months. But what I gather here, these circuit servants, they're just going to show up unannounced. Well, you guys keeping your records right? And
Can I share something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Joe from Colorado. You know, when you mentioned that, I thought of something.
Yeah.
That is actually the corporate model. Now, any corporation, you know, they have their district managers and they have their area managers. It wasn't the district managers that you had to worry about that would come and inspect the corporation. It was the area managers that would come unannounced because you weren't prepared. And so I have a funny feeling they're going to use this to their advantage. And I have a funny feeling when you said that they're leaving it up to the circuit overseers and also these circuit servants to make the recommendations. They're taking it away from the elders. One of the things the Watchtower wants to do, and this is just what I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, they want to appoint younger men. And maybe elder bodies are hesitant about doing that. I know when I was an elder, they wouldn't even consider anybody under 22. It was just a kingdom all rule. But, every elder body is different. But I wonder if the organization is going to use this so these men have like a standing orders. Hey, if you see these young men really reaching out, we don't care if they're 20. Appoint them.
Well, that's probably what
That's
they're
all I
doing.
have, Rick.
Well, no, it's good. I agree with you. But they now have one more layer here of people to watch over others, and that's going to be the circuit overseer. And they'll be popping in and just making sure the congregation is going smooth. They want to listen to the brothers and sisters. Friends, I'll tell you right now, apostasy is big. Plenty of Jehovah's Witnesses are leaving because of apostasy. They've had enough. The internet's the great equalizer. So now we get some new terms again that evidently are going into place as well. Now, we all know the Kobe, right? Remember, that's the chairman of the elders of the Kobe, the chairman of the body of elders. Well, that's what they called him, the acronym Kobe. That's changing. Yeah, that is now changing. They're not going to call him the Kobe anymore. He is going to be the coordinator of the body of elders. That's what they told him before. He was the coordinator. But now they made a change. He is now the chairman of the body. So the Kobe is going to be known as the chairman of the body of elders. Now, the service overseer, well, we've had service. When I was in, 10 years ago, they had a service overseer. Well, they're not going to call him the service overseer any longer. He's now going to be called the field ministry servant. The field ministry. Why? The Watchtower is good at this. Throughout the ages of their existence, they've been changing things around like this. Sometimes they go back to the old terms. So I'm not sure the reason why they do it, but as was just mentioned earlier, Hitler did a lot of the same things. Maybe this is some type of a mind control. I don't know. But so anyways, the secretary, remember this? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Rick, there is a lot of comparison with the Nazi Party and Hitler with the way this organization is acting, the fact that people are leaving and they're getting desperate. And it's just, do your research, people.
Well, that's what we want them to do, Jeff. Yeah, so now the service overseer, he's the field ministry servant. And then, of course, the chairman of the elders is what he'll be referred to now, not the Kobe. And special pioneers, well, they're even going to change their name. We've always known special pioneers, right, for many years. Now we're going to call them field pioneers. Yeah, the special pioneers will be called field pioneers. And their new hour requirement, the hour requirement for a field pioneer, which is on the top of the mountain here. They're the elite class of the Navy SEALs of the pioneers. They got to get 80 hours a month in. 80 hours a month. So that's, 20 hours a week. That's doable. But man, it's a hustle, right? Who wants to put 1 hour in? Never mind 80. Now the regular pioneers, well, they're going to continue to call them regular pioneers, and they have to get 50 hours in. 50 hours in. That's not too bad. Well, before COVID, it was up around 70 or 80. So they dropped that back to 50. Auxiliary pioneers will have to put in 30 hours. And that's going to be their requirement. And then if you are elderly or infirm and you really want to pioneer, well, they're going to let you become an auxiliary pioneer. And all you have to do is put 15 hours a month in and you'll be a pioneer. So that's something. Now, another thing that I was told by this reliable source, he's an insider, friends. I can't give you too much more about it. But another thing I was told by this insider is that Bible studies will now begin on the first return visit. Now, that's kind of a switch. Just previous, well, let's go back to our days. I go back to the 2005. That's when I left. That's when Satan kicked me out of his organization. But back then, you really couldn't start some did that did make an effort to try to start a study, but usually it took 5-6 return visits. And previous, they were suggesting just in the last couple of years that if you had a Bible study that you could do it in 2 return visits. But now they want you to really do your best to start a Bible study with 1 return visit. So in other words, you make the initial call. Hi, I'm Rick from the Watchtower. I'm a Jehovah's Witness, and I got these books for you. So they take the book, and then the next time you come back, they want you to start a study. Hey, that's going to be hard, right? You got to get to know the person. Jesus, like, well, they smooge. They really do. They smooge. That's, years ago, you had 5 or 6 visits. You get to know the person. Hey, would you like to study with me? Boy, now they're like cramming it down their throat. Yeah, first visit, you going to study with me? So we got some things going on here that got me very suspicious. I don't know what's running through your mind, but this got me very, very suspicious with these changes that evidently
Rick,
are
may I say something?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they that was back in, I think, 2010. They came out with something called doorstop studies. You would study with the person on the initial call, then they stopped it. Now, it looked like they're kind of going back to it. I remember the doorstop, I think they used to call it the doorstop study. You could study with a person on the initial call when you first made contact. And you could count that almost as a study, or you could count it as a study. And then maybe that was in 10, I think by 12 or 13, somewhere in there, they kind of cut it out. Now it looked like they're kind of going back to it. And I just wanted to piggyback off the appointments. Years ago, the circuit overseer, when they took when the society stopped appointing them and they started being appointed by the circuit overseer, was appointing the brothers as servants and elders. If a brother was passed over twice or more, he could kind of push or twist the body of the elder's arm to appoint them. Now, they needed the stamp of approval from the body, but now look like they're taking it away from the body. And he just said, well, you guys want to appoint him, I'm going to go ahead and do it myself. And when you get appointed or recommended, even if you're being used in the congregation, they do what's almost called some type of police report on you. They do a thorough background check on the brothers before they're appointed, even used in the congregation. They won't even let you carry the mic until they do a report on you. And then once the report comes back from the branch, they say they'll give them the stamp of approval. You brothers can proceed if you wish. And then they'll go ahead and appoint you as a servant or elder, start using you in the congregation. Now, this is kind of new, taking it away from the body of elders, where he's doing the appointment if the brother is being passed over. But they kind of had that into play a little. They were kind of twisting the body's arms, because to me it seems as they were passing brothers over, or they just weren't appointing brothers. And I do know in several areas by where I live, the body of elders has been that same body of elders for over 20 years, and they weren't appointing anybody. And if a new elder moves in, they won't use him. So I guess they're kind of seeing that or getting wind of it from the circuit overseers. So what they're doing, they're forcing their hand.
Well, that's a good comment, Jen. I can see that all happening. Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. So what I smell here, what I really smell here is that Bethel, the organization itself, they're getting more worried that there are elders in congregations that are becoming more apostate these days. Apostasy, I'm reading into this, I know, and I don't think I'm off track, but apostasy is the main fear. That's the main fear that Jehovah's organization is feeling right now. Bethel is really concerned about the body of elders in congregations. They see that many of these elders are now rebuking. They are not wanting to go along with the society's directions, like selling kingdom halls. There's more and more elders that say, gee, this is something that, our brothers and sisters here locally built the Kingdom Hall, and now the organization wants to come in and take away. And also there's so many elders that are learning about, well, they know about the pedophiles and they know darn well they've been covering up, but it's starting to bother the conscience of many elders. And they're saying, this is enough is enough. I'm not going to go along with this. I'm going to have to report it to the police. The Watchtower really is very concerned about this. So I think that's why they're putting this other layer of spies, you could say, in the congregation. So that's my feeling on it. So they're going to be working together, the circuit overseer and the new circuit servants. They're going to also be the ones involved in putting together a judicial committee. Now, before the elders had that opportunity, or that was their job, so to speak, to put together a judicial committee. Now the ones that are going to arrange it are the circuit overseer and the circuit servants. That they're going to put this together. So we see that some power here seems to be taken away from the elders. They're putting this other layer of security in between the circuit overseer and the elders. So Bethel is toying with some changes here. And they're making these changes because the engine at the Watchtower is not running right. It needs some adjustments. And it's all about apostasy, friends. And this is good news. What we're talking about here tonight makes me very happy. This is wonderful. The organization is just really realizing that something is wrong at the control panel. They're not getting the people to be under the control that they normally would have had the elders under. They're now realizing that, hey, we better do something fast, so we're going to be losing a lot of congregations. They're already losing. And the headquarters know that they've got to do something quick, or it's just going to tank. The whole organization will tank. So these are interesting thoughts, and I want to thank my undercover man, as it is, for giving me this information. And we'll see if it all comes to fruition, but I really do believe what this man has been telling me is right on. It certainly it makes sense. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Rick, this is Dan. They sound like perks, They sound like this circuit servant is like a perk. And, if you were in an elder congregation, you'd think like they're creating competition. Like, hey, man, that's just under the circuit overseer. And anyway, also the pioneer, the hybrid pioneer that you're talking about that gets 80 hours a month. I mean, what lengths are they going to go to, Rick? They're desperate. Are they going to put in a special parking place with the name on it of the pioneer of the month? You know how they do at McDonald's? Or, the the supermarkets, or put a big board up in the Kingdom Hall with gold stars on it and say, Lucy gets a gold star because she got 32 hours this month and she passed out 20 books and 15 magazines and 3 Bibles. It's getting crazy. But like you said, Rick, it's good news. They're desperate. They're scrambling. They're putting all these accolades in place, all these little elevated positions, which just is going to create more narcissism. It's actually going to work against them because there's going to be jealousy. Who the hell is this circuit overseer to put this guy in over us? Aren't we the ones to make decisions? They're scrambling, Rick. You could see it. They're scrambling for everything they can do to keep these people engaged. And I don't know about you. I just want to go back just a little bit with Ezekiel and Daniel. Haven't we all had that stuff down our throats? I mean, revelations in the churches, and we have fed on that stuff. We're vomiting. And it's unbelievable that they could come up with another story. I mean, the people that are listening, I'm sure they've been through the Revelation book and the bands around the trees and 77 times 7. And, we're vomiting. Anyway, Rick, good show. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome, Dan. Thank you for coming in and voicing your thoughts on it. They're making these adjustments, and they wouldn't be making these adjustments if they didn't have to. What this is saying to me is the Watchtower has to make these adjustments. They're getting very concerned. Friends, the Watchtower is hemorrhaging. I just want you to sit back in your chair. I'm not looking through rose-colored glasses here. The stats, doing this for 16 years, something is drastically changing in the Watchtower organization. They are running scared. The magic juice is not working for them. People are leaving by the droves. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that comment. You're exactly right, because this book, like you said, go on one return visit and ask for a Bible study. I remember back a little while back, I say a little while, it's over 20 years, but we had a little brown book, and they said, that's the only book we're going to study with people, because the end's right around the corner. It's one book now, it's not two. And it's just funny that they're bringing this up again, which means, Rick, as you know, they've got to get the numbers up. This is a numbers thing. This is a money corporation, and the numbers are dwindling. And it's like you said, Rick, their arteries are cut. This thing's bleeding all over the place. This organization is done. That's why they're saying, get your butts out there. I think it's interesting that they're calling them servants. I mean, why don't they call them plantation servants? They call them slaves. I mean, this whole servant thing, it's ridiculous. But I think, Rick, they are hemorrhaging. Get your asses back out in the field. Get to that door. The second time we want you to ask for a Bible study. I mean, they're ordering these slaves around like, oh man, it's sickening, Rick. Anyway, thanks.
Well, something you brought up a thought, Dan, that makes sense to me. Yeah, get a guy studying, get a woman studying on the first return visit, and then they can count that as a study, and hopefully they can go for the jugular vein and get them into the baptismal pool fast because they need the numbers. Yeah, really. That's how I'm looking at it. Did I hear a sister? Was there a sister who wants to speak up? Go ahead.
Okay, can you?
Yeah, Rick.
Hold on, Jeff.
Go
Jeff, hold on. We have a sister coming in. Go ahead, sister.
Okay.
Okay, my daughter's 45, and she's been pioneering for years, and it's 70. Now, when I first came into the religion in the 60s, the special pioneers were 150 hours, but they got paid an allowance. So I'm wondering if they lower it down to 80, those pioneers that are making 70 and not getting any money, if they're thinking, well, if all I got to do is $10 more, 10 hours more a month, now I can get an allowance. If they just increase it by the 10 hours. But so they're lowering it down for them for 50. But I'm thinking if they just up it 10 hours a month to 80, because she has to get 70 right now. Well, unless I don't know when they're going to change it to 50. But 10 hours a month more. And then I'm wondering, because I know special pioneers get paid, right? They get an allowance. So I'm wondering how much it would be. So I'm thinking maybe that's why they're doing that, because they're thinking they're going to get more special pioneers if they go up to 80. I don't know. It's just a thought.
Well, no, it's a good thought, sister. It's a good thought. Now, yeah, special pioneers, these new field pioneers is what they're going to call them, 80 hours a month. Now, we had a special pioneer on the program. As a matter of fact, she was my cousin. She's been on this program a couple of times. She lives in California. But she was a special pioneer back in the 1980s. And at that time, I believe you hit it on the nose. I think it was 150 hours a month she had to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And they were paying her and her husband. They were special pioneering. Now, this is the 80s. And they were paying her and her husband $15 a week. And it was, they couldn't survive. And they're putting gas in the car, $15 a week. I mean, back in 85, it'd probably be equal to maybe $60 a week today. I don't know. But I don't know what they're being paid today, sister, but just based on the numbers and all things being equal, the last I heard, Bethelites were in around $120 a month. So I would say that it's probably equal to a Bethelite, maybe around $120 a month, but I don't know. If anyone knows, let me know, Thank you.
Yeah, so I was wondering.
Yeah. Well,
Sure.
thank you. Good to hear from you. Now, I've heard from you before on here, have I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've called before.
Oh, well, thank you. Always good to hear you call in, and don't you be a stranger. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I add something else?
Sure.
Okay. Before I tried calling in, but I was having a problem.
when you were talking about Katrina, during that Hurricane Katrina,
Yeah.
There were a lot of companies that were donating supplies, to these houses so they could rebuild. And they were donating. I mean, this wasn't Watchtower. This is companies donating a lot of things, to these companies or to these people so they could rebuild. Well, I remember people because we had a sister in a congregation. She had relatives there, and she said the Watchtower was making these people put tarps over their houses for it was almost a year before they could get around to rebuilding their house because they wanted the insurance money so bad. So these people, they would get insurance. They got their insurance money to fix their house. But Watchtower says, no, don't do it. We want to do it. So they look at this as an opportunity to make money. That's what they look at these hurricanes as. It's an opportunity to make money. It's not because they care that much about them.
Well, we're going to wait and see. It's too early for me to make any judgment calls on Watchtower right now. But I like to see what they're going to do.
Rick.
I like to hold on, Jeff. I want to see what they're going to do when, how they're going to respond to the poor brothers and sisters in Florida. I mean, that place is decimated. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I just wanted to say on that last lady's that lady's comment as far as insurance claims and what have you. What they do is they bring people from the local congregations or send them down there to do the work for free, and Watchtower collects the insurance claims. I've heard that from good sources. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Oh, you're not wrong. You're absolutely right. You're 100% dead right. You're right on the nose.
Well,
Free labor. Yeah, but you have to look at it this way. If a witness is going to get paid insurance money to have their house fixed, and then they get it fixed for free by the Watchtower, by these brothers, that are doing it, well, if they don't hand the money, the insurance money over to these brothers that were doing it, who are going to give it to the society, then they are getting paid to get their houses fixed, and they're keeping the money. You know what I mean? So Watchtower is keeping the money.
Watchtower is keeping the money, yes. But the thing is, if they don't hand it over, if they get paid by the insurance company to get their house fixed, and then they keep the money for themselves, you see, the brothers have done all of the work. They've, donated all their time, and yet the householder gets to keep the money. So Watchtower guilts them into waiting for the witnesses to do it.
Well,
so they
but the deal is Watchtower gets it all, and maybe the material, but the labor is free, which that's a lot.
And most of the supplies are also donated by local companies.
Yeah,
sure.
That's insurance fraud. That's what they call insurance fraud.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's absolutely, sir. That is, and they Watchtower and organizations need to be charged with that. I'm
in the construction business, and I know how this works. And I deal with insurance claims all the time when I was working.
Yes,
the insurance company is liable to pay you what you have to get paid for your house to get fixed. If you don't pay anything to get your house fixed, you got to give that money back to the insurance company.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There's insurance fraud. I know that for a fact.
Is that right? No, I never know. In fact, I never heard that. But now you're educating me here. So in other words, what you're saying, let me see if I got this right, because I'm not sure. But in other words, okay, so you got $10,000 worth of damage to your roof. So the Watchtower comes in and says, okay, we'll fix your roof for you for free, basically is what they're saying. So once your roof would be fixed for free, the insurance company is not under obligation to pay you?
No, they're not. If they give that money to the insured person, and the insured person gives it to the Watchtower to get fixed, then that's okay. They can do that. But at the Watchtower, never paid anything to get that roof fixed. You got to get that money back to the insurance company because it was free.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. See, you guys know, you know something. Both of you guys knew that. That's interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Insurance fraud.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
It is. I agree with this gentleman. And, I mean, the labor is a lot of money. And Watchtower, that's free for them. That's free money. So there you go.
The witnesses came from all over the country to go down there and work on those buildings. They came from our congregation too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, even my daughter, who is a strong, loyal Jehovah's Witness till this day, she's I don't know if she's still on it, but back during Andrew's time, when Andrew hit Florida, she went down and she was on the roofing department. And my former wife was so upset that they had our daughter working up on a roof, putting shingles on houses. And I tell you what, this organization, I don't know how they get people to do that on their own dime. My daughter and her husband went down on their own dime and didn't make a penny from the whole thing. And the Watchtower, they're the ones that collect the money.
Yes, they got me to do it for years, Rick.
Yeah.
I did it for years.
Yeah.
I took my construction company and built them 3-day halls all the time.
Jeez.
Like I told you before, I did it out of love. I was doing it for God.
Yeah.
And
that's what they think.
That's what exactly, ma'am. That's what you think.
Thank you for letting me comment.
Well, I tell you what. I mean, I learned something tonight. I mean, I know the Watchtower is corrupt, but geez, in fact, it's almost like they look for corruption. They look on how to cheat. I mean, it's one thing to cheat by mistake, but these guys, they looks like they cheat by plan. They plan on how they can do it. Unbelievable. Well, you're on 6 screens, JW World News. We love to hear from you guys. So don't be a stranger out there. In fact, what I'm going to do, if you're on YouTube, I'm going to put up a telephone number. And if you're on YouTube and you like what you're hearing here tonight and you want to call into the program, there's a number right now on YouTube. Go ahead and give us a call. Don't be bashful. I mean, this isn't CBS News. The whole world isn't listening here. But, why don't you call us up and talk to us? And if you want to be put on the voice changer, I'll even do that for you. And no one will even recognize your voice. We'll get you on so that you can just become incognito. So why don't you call that number? Come on in, talk to us. My friends, I'll tell you what, the more I do this program, the more I learn. Hey, we're all learning together, right? We've all been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. But I tell you what is the fascination? Well, what fascinates all of us? How are we so involved with this? And I don't really have the answer for that. Let me see what's going on here. There's a telephone call coming in. Hold on one second. Yes, go ahead. You're on with it. Who's this?
Hi, this is Fran.
Yes, Fran.
Yes, Joe and I and our family, we were living down in Florida in 2000.
Well, what you can do, Fran, you got the wrong telephone number here. I want you to dial the other number, 72 number. Okay. Okay. Good. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Somebody called my phone here, but that's okay. We got a woman calling in from New York. She wants to talk about some of this insurance fraud and what have you. So she'll be coming on right with us. Hey, friends, I mean, we can be a little informal here, right? I have to answer the phone sometimes. I'm just a one-man operation for now. So, I know sometimes it doesn't sound as professional as you'd like to have it, but hey, we're one big family here, right? We're all sitting around the couch together. We can mess things up a little, but we're going to hear from Fran. She's going to come on here very shortly and tell us. Are you on there now with us, Fran?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can. Yeah, go ahead. They want to hear your story.
Okay,
They really do.
Okay. Yeah. So, we lived down in Florida during the 4 hurricanes in 2004. And so our family, we were on the roofing crew, never did roofing before. But I remember this one particular time, we didn't have any money. And we had this job because we were doing tree trimming So we did the job, got the money. We were able to pay for our rent. And we said, okay, good. We got the rent paid. Now we can go and work on this, on the relief work. Well, at that job, Joe hurt his leg. He gashed it really bad, but he said he still wanted to go, but he could not get on the roof. So he spent most of the time in the car, sleeping and recuperating. And I kept, checking on him. But we went down there and we figured we were doing something good for the friends. We felt really good about it. But after hearing all this, the way the insurance money is being spent, it really makes you feel kind of bad.
It does. In fact, you put all that time and effort on your own dime too, Fran. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for being a humanitarian. You really had a desire to help your fellow man. You weren't looking for financial gain. You did it out of your own heart. And Joe too, even though he had a sore foot, he was willing to go down there with you. So kudos for you guys. You did it out of your own heart. And that's what real Christians do. That's what real God-minded people do. Thank you for sharing that. That's good.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you. So there you go. There's people, all of us, we've got, 7 billion people, 7 billion people on the planet now. I think that most people are good-hearted. I think most people want to help. But friends, there's some evil people out there. And there's some evil organizations as well. And the Watchtower is one of them. Boy, I'll tell you, we're on JW World News. Does someone want to speak up and talk? Did you want to say something here tonight? We got a little airtime here. We got a number of programs coming up tonight. But if you want to say something about something you heard here tonight, go ahead. You're on with us. Don't be bashful.
Hey, Rick, could I share one more thought?
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I was just thinking, from observation, I don't ever remember going out door to door. I don't ever remember the talks at the assembly say, let's go out and help our wonderful brothers out there in the world that are lost. Let's go out and, love on them today. It's let's get out and get our hours in. The world was a time clock to us. We were getting butts into paradise. And it really was a time card. When we went out door to door, it was just a time card. How many hours did you get in? Did you get anybody? Was anybody? It wasn't that you cared about anybody. So I think this carries over. My brother used to laugh. He went down to Florida a couple times. Oh, we put roofs on, 10 brothers' houses, but they didn't do anything for anybody. Yeah, and it's because, like you said, Rick, a regular church has a community. They have a community for anybody who comes in their church. They want some food, they can eat. If you want to, if there's something that happens in the community, the church opens the door, people come in there, they get to lay down, they get to get food, not the Kingdom Hall, because it's not about love, Rick. There's nothing in there about love. It's all about time and getting our butts into paradise. It's very selfish. That's it, Rick.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan. I just want to make another announcement, too. We're having some issues here. Evidently, I'm not sure what happened, but I do know that we are on YouTube. Some are saying we're on Facebook. It's really not that important. I wish that things were working on our platforms, but evidently some are saying that they're not seeing me. I guess they can hear me, but I don't know what to do about it right now. But we'll have another program coming up in a while, and I'll make sure. I don't want to stop everything now and go back, and it'll just be too much to handle. But as long as you can hear me, that's all right. You don't have to really see me, but as long as you can hear me, that's fine too. Just look at it like a radio program. But we're glad you're on with us. We really, really are glad you're on listening in. It's just my...
Hey, Rick, I can hear you on YouTube.
Is that right? Can you see me on YouTube too, or what?
Yeah, I can see you and hear you and everything. Yep.
That's funny that you say that, because we get so many people write me and they're saying, well, we can't see you, Rick, but it's okay. I mean, maybe it's on their end. I don't know. But anyways, You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork. We do the best we can here with what we have. So anyways, let's see what else is going on behind the curtains. Let me get back into my news here and see what we can talk about next, because there's always so many things to talk about. I mean, for 16 years, we've never stopped talking about what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. So let me see what we got here. Now, I know there's some news coming out of Bethel, and I don't know if you heard it or not, but right now we have, there's some information coming out that COVID has made an outbreak. COVID evidently at the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, I can't confirm that as being true. I wish that we could be real journalists here, but we're not journalists. I can only go on what people are sending me information. It's like a clearinghouse here. I do trust the people who do send me information, but we do have news coming in now that there's an outbreak of COVID-19, COVID, whatever it would be, Omicron or whatever, at the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses right now. So only time will tell. And other feelings and thoughts that are coming out of Bethel right now from some of the insiders that we have there. They're saying that they're going to make a big crackdown on Zoom attendees beginning after October 1st. So if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you've been on Zoom and you love doing that rather than going to the meetings, it's so much easier for you, right? Well, now we have word coming out of Bethel just recently here, just coming in now, that we have word coming out that as of tomorrow, October 2nd, the witness organization is going to start cracking down on those that are attending on Zoom. That's the platform, that's the internet platform, as you guys know, for listening to meetings. They want you off of that, and they want you coming to the meetings in person. So that's the latest here right now. So we'll see how that goes over. I don't think it's going to go over that good. I really don't. People love Zoom. Man, I tell you, the witnesses never had it so good. But boy, all of a sudden, Jehovah got his big stick out, and he's starting to whack these witnesses big time. You know, he's got them going back to the meeting. He's got them going out door to door. He's coming up with new servants here to monitor you and spy on you. Well, what's going on with Jehovah? He's getting very untrustworthy lately. I don't know what's going on with him, but I'm glad he's not my God anymore. My God does not carry a big stick, but the God of the Watchtower does. And he's getting that stick out now. He's starting to whack a bunch of the Jehovah's Witnesses. But you know, at the same time, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but it's been all over the internet. Did you see the picture of that Jehovah's Witness sister wearing pants? Yeah, pants, slacks. And she had a dress over them, but she was wearing slacks. And she was passing the microphone around. She had the job of passing the microphone. And then there was also a picture going all over the internet of a brother out in service wearing blue jeans. Did you see that? Well, if you're on Facebook, I'm going to show it to you. If you're on YouTube, you'll see it. And I think Facebook as well, but at least on YouTube, I know you'll see it. But let me get the picture up. And I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses have always condemned a sister wearing pants, slacks. Never, ever, ever would they allow that. You know, and years ago, back in the 70s, well, basically the 80s, they had some beautiful pantsuits for women. And I thought that would have been appropriate. But no. Sisters cannot wear pantsuits. So let me get this picture up for you. I want you to see the picture. If you're on YouTube, you see it. It really got my attention. Is this it here? Yeah. Oh, that's it right there. I don't know if you can see it that well, but just look at the screen if you're on YouTube. Take a look at that. It's in the middle of the screen. There's the woman right there. She's got high heels on, too. When's the last time you saw a sister in a Kingdom Hall wearing big 3-inch heels? They don't like that either. But I don't know what's going on with the Watchtower. Are they loosening up their dress code? I don't know. But there she is.
Hey, Rick?
Yes, Randy.
I think what they've done, they've just changed their policy now. Since she's doing what normally a brother does, instead of a head covering, she's just going to wear the pants.
Well, you might be right with that, Randy, but it looks awful weird. Now, I must say that maybe it's like another country, maybe, where, you know, the dress code for Jehovah's Witnesses is different. But even then, I mean, 3-inch heels. Then she's got some fancy little fuzzy thing around her ankle. It's a little bit ostentatious, you could say. But
I was in Hollywood a few years ago, and I walked up to a J.W. Cart, and a woman was wearing pants there. That kind of surprised me.
Well, maybe they're letting their guard down. But I'm going to put another picture up right now. I'm just going to see if I can't make that. Well, I can't make that picture bigger. I wish I could make that picture bigger. But there's another picture right there. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. So we have a brother and a sister out in service. And it sure does look like jeans to me. Tight jeans, blue jeans, the brother is wearing in service. Now, I don't know. I mean, it could be from another country where they allow this, but I think Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide, they want to keep their flock at least dressing right. I don't think they want them to look like, worldly people. But to me, that fella out and that brother out in service with tight jeans on, that's kind of going over the top. But I wanted to bring that up. Maybe what's happening, friends, I think I know what's happening. The Watchtower is in trouble. And, whenever a person or an organization or a business even, or even a church, whenever they get in trouble, whenever things aren't going their way, people make rash decisions. This could be going on right now in the Watchtower. When you have an organization in free fall like the Watchtower, you're going to have all kinds of people thinking different things. And the governing body is going to meet and officials are going to meet. We should do this. No, don't do that. Do this. No, let's do this. Let's do that. They're doing everything they can to preserve this organization. So when I see a woman wearing pants, now the passing of the microphone, I've seen that's not a big deal. When you don't have a brother, you use a woman to do that. I understand it. But to see a woman wearing 3-inch heels and pants in the Kingdom Hall, that is a little bit shocking. That's a little bit shocking. But I don't know what you guys feel, but maybe the dress codes, maybe the witnesses realize if you're going to be getting people today to come and be part of your pure organization, you better let your guard down a little bit. Now, you heard what happened just this week in Iran, did you? The 22-year-old woman who got killed under the custody of the Iranian government, and she was brought into custody because her hair was too long. Well, it wasn't that the hair was too long. Her hair was showing. You're not supposed to show your hair. I mean, talk about dress codes. They have to wear these kerchiefs or burqas or whatever they put on their head. So some of her hair was showing, and they arrested her. They brought her into custody, and somehow she died. There's people protesting as we speak in Iran, and they're all upset with the head of Iran. Of course, he's a theocrat. It's one of the only theocratic nations left on the planet, but he's one of these Ayatollah guys, with the big hat. So they're really coming down hard on him. There's thousands of people protesting in the street. Well, maybe the Watchtower is letting some of their dress code down too, because they know people. Would you want to become a Jehovah's Witness if you had to follow all of their dress codes and all of their quirky ways of doing business? You wouldn't want to become one. So that's why I think the Watchtower right now is relaxing some of their dress codes. And that could be the case, or it just might be maybe people from a different place in the world where the witnesses let them do that because of the different customs and what have you of the land. I don't know, but it certainly seems a little odd to me. Well, anyways, we got more stories to talk about. I mean, they are closing Kingdom Halls down one right after another. It's a prolific situation. This isn't just occasional. This is ongoing. Every day of the week, Kingdom Halls are being closed down. And the congregations that go to the Kingdom Hall that's been shut down, we know what they're doing. They're asking them to compress or to join in with another congregation nearby. Now, some of these nearby congregations aren't as close as you would think. They call it nearby, but it's really not nearby. If you're going to travel, and many brothers and sisters right now are traveling an hour to get to a meeting, friends, that's 2-hour travel time. Takes you an hour to get to the meeting, an hour to get home, because they closed the Kingdom Hall that was 20 minutes down the street. Does the Watchtower have any feelings for these people? Does the Watchtower have any concern that, gee, some of our brothers and sisters have got to be going crazy here with the traveling time? But the Watchtower doesn't care. They'll make the money. They'll make the money and say, that's it, toodaloo on the brothers and sisters. We could care less. If they got to travel further, that's fine. And the gas prices being high too. They're coming down a little bit, which is good, but they're still high. They're still high. So, this is happening quite a bit. And I wouldn't even bring it up if it just happened occasionally. This is happening on a daily basis. Kingdom halls are being shut down, sold off. Kingdom halls compressing. Sometimes because we don't see all of this under our nose, we don't see it all happening. It is happening. It's hard to really believe it all because, when we were, I don't want to sound like an old dinosaur here either, but when we were going to the meetings back in the 80s and 90s and 70s, my goodness, they couldn't build enough kingdom halls. The kingdom halls were so crowded. I had 5 children. My former wife and I had 5 children. Bring 5 kids. And plus myself and my wife, we needed 7 seats. So put that one in your pipe and smoke it. Go to the Kingdom Hall back then. We had a hard time even sitting together. And at a convention or assembly, if we didn't get there at least an hour ahead of time, forget about it. You wouldn't get a seat. But today, seats all over the place. Sit where you want. There's plenty of seats. So we do see a changing organization. But I'll tell you what, it's just so concerning to me. So concerning to me that there's still so many people that believe all this baloney, including a lot of relatives of mine. I have at least 50 relatives that are Jehovah's Witnesses, loyal Jehovah's Witnesses, and they still love the organization, and they think it's the greatest thing ever in the history of mankind. And yet they're just going along with everything the Watchtower says, and there's so many witnesses like that, but at the same time, there's so many leaving, it's hemorrhaging. So the loyal ones, they seem to be sticking in a little longer, but I don't think they're going to hang around that much longer, really, especially in view of all of the money lately. Have you been noticing this? Yet there's another money video, on watchtower.jw.org. They took it down. It's not up there now. But a video that was given for the morning worship. Now, morning worship is every morning when the brothers at Bethel come down for breakfast on the big monitor screens. Some official from the Watchtower comes on and he gives morning worship. And I don't know if you caught this or not. It's been all over the internet this week. But people have got to stop giving money, period. I'm going to play a little clip here. If you're on YouTube, you'll see it. Our other networks, you'll hear it. But I want to share this with you because this got my attention. In the context of what this official from the Watchtower was saying, is if you give money to the Watchtower, Jehovah is going to be your friend. So they're making this kind of a situation where if you don't give money, evidently Jehovah is not going to be a friend. So let me see if we can't get this man on. You'll see him here. So let's get him on. You'll hear him. And let's make sure this is going to work. I'm going to share it right now. Stay with us. I'm going to share it. Let's get him up here so you can see him nice and big. Let's get it big. First of all, I got to get him on here. Hold on 1 second. Let's just go back here. We'll get him. I just want to get the sound up. For some reason, the sound's not. Yeah, we'll get the sound. Just give us a second. And what we'll do is this is the man. He's the official from the Watchtower. You can see him right there. And let's see if we can't get the sound up. Where is the sound? Where is my sound? All right. Well, these things happen, but We're not getting sound here. Well, here it is. Hold on. I think I got the sound.
Seeing us giving, making sacrifices makes him happy. The result is a close relationship, or in the words of our scripture text, we become friends. The text reminds us of using our financial means to make friends with Jehovah and Jesus. And even though Jehovah owns everything.
So he's saying using our financial means to make friends with Jehovah and Jesus. Doesn't that sound like some of these crooked theological people coming on? Michael Murdoch and the rest of these people. So he's saying here that, and he's a witness saying this, that, use your financial means and Jehovah and Jesus will bless you. Well, listen to the whole thing here.
Seeing us giving, making sacrifices makes him happy. The result is a close relationship, or in the words of our scripture text, we become friends. The text reminds us of using our...
All right, that's the clip. I just saved one little part of the clip. But you got the idea. You got the idea that this man is basically saying, not basically, but he is saying that, if you give money, then that's how you become a friend with Jehovah. Now, does that make sense to you? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me at all. So I just...
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Is it all right for me to talk?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm just thinking, I'm listening to this. This just sounds like the latest ad campaign of JW.org. JW.org is a company. This is their ad campaign, and they want you to worship this manufactured God that they made up named Jehovah. Now, that's not the creator God, but they made up this Jehovah God. And when they say Jehovah, they really mean the governing body and company who's ever running the show there. So it's just an ad campaign. And they have so much money already, just this year alone. Different tax laws, different countries, but in South Africa, which is probably one of the better, wealthier countries in Africa, but still there's a lot of poor people there. They were donated this year $91 million from South Africa. Now, whether that's just for the branch in this area, there's more than one country, but that's a lot of money. And they're just campaigning for more and more and more. They want to build this media center, but they already have the funds to do it. They're just soaking it. And this is their ad campaign to get people to donate to them. It's just like the TV preachers that go out and say, well, if you give money to Jehovah, he'll bless you. That's what they're saying. Give money to God and he'll bless you. But they're just making it all up as they go along.
Well, exactly, Susan. That's exactly what they're doing. And do you think the witnesses are going to fall for that? Do you? I mean, when you were a witness, would you fall for that? That, Jehovah is going to become more of a...
I would. If I was a Nazi witness, I would have fallen for it in a heartbeat. If they said this is what God wants, I would have done it. But now I'm smart enough to know that it's not God that's saying it. It's not the real God, Yahweh, that's saying it. It's their manufactured Jehovah, the governing body, that's saying it. We want your money. If God wanted something built, isn't he powerful enough to get it done, that he wouldn't have to beg, borrow, and steal from people who have nothing, that they persecuted and not let them be uneducated and barely eating, barely being able to pay their bills? And then they're supposed to go and donate millions of dollars for their crazy building projects? Really, if God wanted something built, it would be built. And they don't need to go and get some slick ad campaign with songs and new ad campaigns, which is just basically their JW.org that they have, the website that they have that people go to. It's just a big advertisement for Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, that's all it is, Susan, but that's what they do. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what they're doing. I came across something. I didn't get a chance to put it up here on 6 screens, but I came across something this week that what they're doing now when they go door to door is they have a little folder, a little flyer, and it has that QR code. It brings you right to jw.org. So the brochure is so simple. It's like a little flyer, 1-page flyer. It says, would you like to learn more about the Bible? And then it has that code that brings you right to jw.org. That's what they're doing for service. So they go door to door and they give people that little flyer with the code. They don't have to get into a Bible discussion like you and I had to. Just give people a code. Let jw.org teach them, Crazy.
Well, it's just like the
Hey,
home
Rick.
shopping channels. They have the QR codes too, those shopping channels. You just point your phone and shoot, and you can buy whatever they happen to be selling that day.
Right.
Hundreds of products. And that's what they're doing with this QR code. You just put your phone right up there. Once they got you sucked into their system, then they can suck it out financially.
You got it. So that's what they're doing, Susan. Unbelievable. Well, thank you, Susan. You go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, bless that lady. They're just a criminal organization, a former publishing company. The internet ruined them. Now they're bringing this media center in so they can rake in more money, and that's what it's all about. I mean, they're about money, and they got money in Lockheed Martin, which is a arms dealer. They build military arms. Do your research. They got stock in that, and they have stock in Philip Morris, which they will disfellowship you for the Philip Morris Tobacco Company, which they will disfellowship you for smoking. So that's my comment.
Well, there you go. You're right, Jeff. I agree with you 100%. Good comment. All right, you're on JW World News. I got a lot of messages coming in here. Anyways, it has to do with there was some issues with Facebook here tonight. Evidently, we had two streaming. We had the earliest show that we had streaming at the same time JW World News was. So I think that's what our problem was. So we'll get it straightened out, and we'll get our program that's coming up next here with Six Screens conference call. It'll be all straightened out. So if you're on Facebook and you missed us, or wherever you are, it'll be better in the next program we have. But stay with us for now. You're on YouTube and you're also on Twitter, so that's okay. And we'll get it all straightened out here, so don't worry. There's always some snafus that go on when you're doing a live program. So let's see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. I'm going to tell you right now, friends, this organization, they have to be punished. They really have to be punished for how they're acting as of late. They are squeezing the brothers and sisters for too much money. They should get gross punishment. I mean, they really, really deserve it. They are asking for not only your cash, but your house, your jewelry, for everything. And the poor witnesses, they feel this is God's true organization. They're gonna give the money. And that's what they're doing. They're leaving houses and property, and they're donating all kinds of things to the Watchtower organization. And, I'm just thinking out loud, something that could happen. We really, when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, when I was at least, and anyone listening in here tonight, when you were Jehovah's Witness, it was very important to get your time in. I mean, I can remember people that, at the last few days of the month, if they couldn't get their time in, they would go crazy. They would, I got to find a place to witness. I got to find a place that I get some time in. So we do have the organization right now looking for money. I would like to offer them suggestion. I hope they're not listening here tonight, because I don't want them to steal what my suggestion would be. But I know the witnesses would give a lot of money. And this is what my suggestion would be. If the Watchtower really wanted to make millions, a good money scheme would be to tell people that they would get so many hours for donating certain amounts of money. In other words, you're a witness out there and you don't have much time to go out and service, but you give us $20 and we'll give you 5 hours. That'd be a great way for the Watchtower to get money, right? And I know there's witnesses. I know witnesses that would pay for that. Don't worry about going door to door. Just send us some money. Jehovah will appreciate that. That's part of your ministry. And, we'll give you a time for doing that. It's not It's not
Can you
far-fetched.
imagine if you didn't have to pay taxes?
Did someone want to say something?
Just pay for somebody $120 a month, $100. So we'll say 100. Yeah, not out of the past. We'll say $125 a month.
Yeah, and we'll give you 10 hours a month. And people would do it, Jeff. There's people that would do it. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean,
Rick.
I might have did it myself, really. Yeah, go ahead. You're on.
Hi, Rick. It's Roland. Hi.
Yes,
Hi.
Roland. Yes, Roland.
I was just listening to what you're saying with interest because, to be honest, when I was pioneering, I used to auxiliary pioneer, but I used to do a lot more hours than I had to. I used to do anywhere between 60 and 80 hours. I never pioneered full time because I didn't want the pressure of having to get the 70 hours in, but I used to get, at least 16 usually, and a lot of the time I was quite ill. And I was having to sort of forego my secular work, so I wasn't earning as much money because I was putting the time in to go on the ministry. And sometimes I'd be donating money. And to be honest, it was leaving me skint at one point because I had 2 girls to bring up. I was buying clothes for them. I was petrol for getting to the meetings, etc. So it's a big stress for people, and I think they're going to just get to the point. People are going to get to the point. The witnesses are going to get to the point where they feel guilty because they just literally can't give any more. But they're just trying to milk them for every penny, and it's just not fair. It's not fair on the hard-working families. It's not fair on the pensioners. Especially when you've got a cost of living crisis going on worldwide, and particularly in this country, it's absolutely mad. I mean, we're having a job to keep up with the prices of things. You add that on top of going to the Kingdom Hall and them asking for more and more money. People just can't give it, Rick. They haven't got it, and it's going to put people off. It's going to make them start questioning, well, why does God need all this money? What are they doing with it? We discussed tonight on the program about the selling off the Kingdom Halls on returning to life. But where's all this money going? I mean, surely... they're the ones that quote Matthew quite often about not storing up your treasures on earth and what have you. Well, what are they doing? They've got thousands, millions of pounds stored up on earth. And where's it all going? What's it doing? How is it helping the brothers and sisters? It's not. The only people it's helping is the governing body. So that's all I wanted to say, Rick. It's just, it's really hard for some people, especially when they're pioneering and trying to get their hours in, and then also trying to, cope with the cost of living, and them greedy vultures trying to suck you for every penny and more. It's just not on, Rick. It's awful.
Well, it is awful, and it's not far-fetched. But the Watchtower could come on, and they could say, "Well, brothers and sisters, in view of what we just heard this official say a few minutes ago, that by donating money to the Watchtower, you're going to be Jesus and Jehovah's friend." And, kind of implying that if you don't donate money, you're not his friend. But just suppose, I know the witnesses would suck this right up. If the officials came on from the Watchtower and says, brothers and sisters, we understand it's so difficult today for you to go out in service. And we understand that it's really a hardship. But we came up with a new arrangement here so you can draw closer to Jehovah. Now, time and service is something that we've always considered to be the hallmark of our ministry. But in view of the times, we feel that Jehovah and Jesus will accept you as a friend if you could just donate a small amount of money, and we will count that as part of your hours in the ministry. They could come up with some phony baloney story, and the people would go for it. I know they would.
Of course they would. Yeah, absolutely they would, Rick. I'd have gone for it at the time. If they'd have said to me, if you donate so much money, we'll give you extra hours on your ministry, I'd have snapped their hand off because I could have then gone and done my secular work and earned twice as much.
I would have done the same.
I couldn't because I spent all my time going around door to door, wasting my time, to preaching a gospel that wasn't even the gospel, and just basically preaching blasphemy. I spent all that time, and really it does suck, when I think about the time I spent and the time I miss with my girls, when they were growing up, and the time that I could have spent with them doing things, I spent on the ministry because I thought it was the thing to do. I thought Jehovah would love me, for doing it, it really infuriates me, and I would have slapped their hand off if they say, well, you give so much money, we'll give you so many hours on top of, you know.
I would have done it myself.
Yeah.
I would have done it myself, Roland. I said, really? I mean, you know, take the 5 kids out, put them in the car, take them out in service. If they said, well, you know, Rick, we'll give you 3 hours, give us $25. I would have gladly done that.
Yeah.
Gladly done that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so would I, Rick. I'd have gladly given 25 quid to spend more time with my family. You know what I mean? And to do other things, you know. I'd have quite happily given the money, yeah.
Yeah, I hope I'm not giving the Watchtower any ideas. Go ahead, brother. We got a new brother on there. Go ahead. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that Whiskey Morris's whiskey bill has to be paid.
Yeah, well, you're right. You're right.
His McAllen bill at Bottle King.
Well, someone's going to pay it. Somebody's going to pay it, Jeff.
Yeah,
well,
yeah. You know who's paying it? We were.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
And he loaded it in a Cadillac. Watch the video.
I saw the video. He's doing all right.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't.
Yeah, he's doing real good. Hey, on a Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. I think it was. Yeah, he loads it in a Cadillac. So 70 miles from Bethel. So, or what is it?
Well, we're 70 miles from Warwick. I don't know if that's the exact amount, but
Warwick.
Yeah.
I was going to say Newark, but yeah, Warwick.
There you go. So, anyways, Jeff, no, but that's true. They do need the money.
Lake.
Go ahead. You want to say something? Go ahead. Is that you, Denise?
70 miles from that resort at the lake.
Yeah, well, it is a resort at the lake, Pixie. I mean, wouldn't you like to live there?
At the lake, they get a clothing allowance. They have no dental bills. They have no room bills. They have catered cafeteria. It might not be 4-star every day, but they don't have the food bills that you or I do or the brother from Britain does.
Well, Pixie, would you say they're living high off the hog?
I'd say they're living high on the hog and they got a farm. Do you think they could maybe turn a bindery into a cannery and can some peaches and ship me some? No.
Well, the thing.
Pixie.
Hold on, Jeff. Hold on. Let's let Pixie talk now. Go. So, Pixie, I got some thoughts for you, Pixie. Do you believe? I mean, I'm just taking you at random here. Do you think the Bethelites, not the Bethelites, but say the governing body members, do you think they live better than the average Jehovah's Witness lives?
They certainly do, because with my Celtic heritage and yours, sir, I'd love a bottle of Macallan's. What does it go for? $50 a bottle?
That would last
years. I'd love it.
In fact, I walked into there's a liquor store up there in New Hampshire that I go up there to when I go up that way. It's a big liquor store, and they sell it for the least expensive price, but it starts as $100 and goes up from there.
Oh my, I'd love a wee dram. You think he's sharing it with me? No way.
Well, he bought $1,000 worth of it. That was unbelievable.
Oh boy. Yeah. And a silk tie too that he didn't have to pay for.
Yeah. Well, you know, I believe what's happening here is now that the governing buffoons have come on there screaming.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, the governing buffoons. Now that they've come on and people can see them up front, and they can see their little pinky rings. They can see their Rolex watch. They can see their $500 suits. And, you know, we got a lot of witnesses. I'm going to tell you something, Pixie. And a lot of people might not have heard this, but I've been getting comments and people writing into the 6 screens. And they're telling me about how the witnesses are all moving in. Not all, but many are moving in with each other because of the high cost of things. A lot of the witnesses, because they're falling behind on their rent. They never had good jobs. So many witnesses now are starting to pile in with each other, starting to live with one another. And because I mean, let's face it, in today's day and age, you've got to do pretty good. You've got to make a decent income just to survive. And the witnesses were never trained on these things, and many have fallen through the cracks. A sad situation. Sad.
I know, and if you buy anything at a store, you better not let them know. If you get a nice dress or a nice tie at a thrift because they'll tell you that the thrift tie is demon possessed, but they knew everything.
Well, see, they downplay
Can I
it.
make a comment?
We got a brother who wants to make a comment. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, this is Joe from Colorado. When times were good, I know everybody's struggling now with the economy, but when times were good, I knew a circuit overseer, and he was just telling me about how much he accumulated, and he was pretty smart because they after a certain age they let you go. He was collecting the green handshakes, and he collected over $100,000. Now, can you imagine the governing body members when times were good? What kind of handshakes were they getting? Now, I am guilty of this myself. I remember we were allowing a circuit overseer stay with us, and they were going to go on vacation. And I didn't do this to get a convention card or anything like that. I did get a convention card out of it, but I gave them an envelope with $500. Now, could you imagine these governing body members, when the times were good, what kind of money they were getting? Under the table is a green handshake, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about the governing body, maybe they're only getting the stipend and a little extra, and of course they don't have to pay for their housing, travel, but it's the green handshakes that they make the money at. That's where the real money's at.
And a lot of that goes on. And, that's all under the table, so to speak, too. So, we always looked at the Watchtower as being this pristine, wonderful, honest organization. They always told us, now be very honest, make sure you do the speed limit. Make sure you get your sticker if you need one on your car for inspection. Make sure you pay your taxes. Make sure you abide by the laws of the land. These guys don't do it. They're hypocrites. They tell you one thing and they do the opposite. It's unbelievable. And what the pressure that they would overload a person's conscience with. And I used to have my conscience overloaded. Really, geez, I got to make sure I do everything right. I don't want to bring reproach upon Jehovah. Boy, that could mean I'm going to die. That's a lot to put on a person. It really is. People flip out because it was. Geez, everything. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do that. Geez, if you saw a movie that was R-rated, it bothered your conscience. If if someone told you a dirty joke and you listened to it, that bothered your conscience. Geez, everything.
You're supposed to be mad.
Yeah, everything. Everything was like, geez,
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I went out in service. I did everything. I was never baptized, but I did it all. They were pushing me to the limit to get baptized, and I didn't. Like now, looking back and everything I do now is that governing body and some of those elders, circuit overseers, they were just a bunch of pimps, and I don't. That's the truth.
You're breaking up on us, Chef, for some reason. I'm not sure why, but you're breaking up. But no,
I'm sorry, but
yeah. All right, just cool it for a few minutes here. You're breaking up. See if we get a better signal. All right. So anyways, I wanted to go back to what we were talking about there. We all walked around with an overloaded conscience, didn't we? And you guys know what I'm talking about. That's not how people really live. People don't think every second of the day that they're doing something wrong against God, but that's what the Watchtower would make you do. Geez, you had to be so guilty. We were all walking around with guilt trips. And in fact, I see the posting here on YouTube about even eating hot dogs because they might have had blood in it. And all of these stupid things they had us doing. How could you even function as a human being? Geez, you couldn't. What you could do, what you couldn't do. There was so many rules. And our conscience was just overloaded. And many people really, they landed up in psych wards because of that. They really, really did. They were so guilt-ridden, and that can really do a job on people. But boy, how free we are that we're out of the Watchtower. I'll tell you, it's amazing. If you got something to say, go ahead. You're on with us. Was your conscience bothered? Yes.
Hi, Rick. This is Constance. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good tonight, Constance.
Good. I wanted to send my love out to everybody, but especially you and Susan, and I know she's listening in. I was just going to say, Rick, you know, yeah, we were overloaded. Watchtower used tremendous amount of shame and guilt, you know, for anything and everything, just to sort of break us down mentally. And I always think, Rick, about your expression when you said there were so many sisters, circuit overseers' wives, and even elderettes who came down with fibromyalgia. Well, Dr. Becker was talking about fibromyalgia, and he was saying, well, of course, it can be caused from being deficient in certain nutrients in your body, but also stress can be a big trigger for fibromyalgia. And I thought, my gosh, being a witness is all about stress. You know, I mean, you know, Rick, you sort of get crazy after a while. If you're not stressed about anything as a JW, you think something's wrong with you, you know? So anyway, so many of the sisters were, you know, having fibromyalgia. And like I've always said, you know, popping those antidepressant drugs, and, you know, that does a number on them. And, you know, maybe short term it might help, but in the long run, it does a tremendous amount of damage. It doesn't solve their issue of depression. They need to get out of the cult. That's what's going to get them over their depression, Rick, you know. But the other thing I wanted to say, Rick, you know, I was in the 70s and the early 80s, and I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, as many people know, and we had our conventions at Candlestick. We had it at the Oakland Coliseum, and we also had it at the Cow Palace. And I remember there'd be like, you know, approximately about, I'd say 27,000 people at the conventions, the summer conventions. And, you know, Rick, you can only imagine how much money Watchtower was rolling in those days, because I'm talking about pre-1975. And the talks were all about the end of the system, and brothers and sisters, especially the brothers, were leaving their jobs at, you know, Pacific Bell or PG&E or anywhere they had, because they thought the system was coming to an end. And if they were homeowners somewhere, they sold their homes and they went to where the need was greater. And, you know, Rick, I've always wondered how, when I was in, there were 2 million JWs. Okay, now supposedly there's 8 million. But even of the 2 million back then, Rick, you know, I've always wondered how much money did Watchtower bring in with their scam of 1975? You know, jewelry, people's homes, their estates when they died, whatever they cashed in. And yet when 75 came and went, Rick, you know, Watchtower, I always say it, the GB, they were laughing all the way to the bank. And these brothers and sisters are piss poor today, because for many of them, that's all they had. And yet you didn't see the governing body turn around and return people's homes and monies and everything back to them. So to me, it was a big, big scam. And, you know, Watchtower is always looking out for money, and that's what they're all about. I think whenever you talk, Rick, about finances, I think it's very, very pertinent, because there are a lot of great people that are still in the organization, and we know that, and we still love them. We don't hate them. We love them. It's just the governing body member who are taking advantage of all them. So, you know, Rick, I think it's wonderful that you're having these topics, and I'm happy to hear that it's waking people up too, because they're being scammed. You know, Rick, there's so many scammers today. I'm here in California. We get scammed for everything out here. And yet, you know, people need to be aware. I mean, nobody wants to be taken advantage of today. So I thank you, Rick, and send my love to you and Susan today.
Well, thank you, Constance, for coming. Always good to hear from you. You got me laughing here. You come across as a very serious-minded lady. And, you know, we all were duped. We were all duped by this crummy organization. But, you know, as we were talking there a little while ago about the conscience and how we were all really over conscientious. And, they always said that when I was a witness, when you were, and many people listening in here today can relate to it, this is the best life yet. That's what they tell us. This is the best life yet. That was the worst life yet. Seriously. I mean, if you had it's only now that I feel free. You can do things and feel comfortable and not feel so doggone guilty all the time. These guys are masters at it. And the more guilty you feel, the more control they get. So thank you, Constance. Always good to hear from you. Go ahead. Do we have?
Thank you, honey.
Thank you, Constance. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Which one?
Dick, go ahead, Dick.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just want to comment on something you were talking about a few minutes ago. This guy, Michael Murdoch. Well, the Watchtower is doing the same thing. As most people know, he's a televangelist, and his scam works like this. He will tell the story. He goes to church. He has $5 in his wallet, no gas, hasn't eaten in 2 days, and the collection box goes by, and he puts $5 into it, his last $5. He goes out into the parking lot, and this guy drives up in a big Cadillac and says, God has put into my mind to give you this $10,000. And he gives it to Michael Murdoch. Well, anyway, they're leaving you with the impression that if you give the money to the Watchtower, you can expect a big reward. But it never happened. It's a scam. Thanks, Greg.
Well, Dick, you're right. And that is the new venue the Watchtower is going to run with. You're going to be Jehovah's friend when you give money to the organization. That's sickening. That is sickening. Jesus never asked for a penny. Never. But boy, all these TV evangelists are coming out. Give me this, give me that. Spend $60 and I'll send you DVD. Do this, do that. They're all asking for money. And, Jesus didn't ask for a penny. And that is such a scam. And the witnesses are just sucking it right up like, oh, Jehovah wants me to do it. Terrible. Thank you, Dick. Well, my goodness.
Hey, Rick.
Okay, we got another sister on there first. Go ahead, sister.
Rick, it's me again.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, Rick, these brothers and sisters, they work really, really hard today. I mean, like I say, I'm out here in California. The price of gas is up to $6.59 a gallon in some places not far from me. Okay, the cheapest is $5.89 a gallon. That's a gallon for regular. That's just gasoline. So I just wanted to say that, brothers and sisters work really, really hard for their money, no matter where they live. And Watchtower, this is the bottom line, Rick. They don't care. When I talk about Watchtower, I'm talking about the GB. They don't care about the brothers and sisters. It's all about taking their money. And I think when people really wake up to that, Rick, when they wake up about the scammers that the GB are, they finally start saying, you know what? I'm tired of wasting my time, my money, my resources, my life with something that's just a big con job. And that's what it is. Now, that's not to say that that's who God is. That's a totally separate issue. But that's where people get hung up. They think, well, whatever the governing body says, this has God's Holy Spirit, so it's directed by Jehovah. No, this organization is not directed by Jehovah, because you'd never have pedophiles in an organization, and God would approve of that. So people need to realize they're being scammed. And that's one other thing, Rick. When it was 75, and even now they say it's the end of the end, it's closer to the end of the system. Why in the hell, honey, do they need to have this big media center if the system's coming to an end? Right, Rick?
Well, it is. These are things, see, that sharp people can follow through on. They can say something's not adding up here. But the witnesses never do that. They don't do that. I don't even know if I did it when I was a witness, but if you just stopped and thought about these things, geez, you'd be out of this organization in 5 minutes if you just stopped and thought about it,
Rick. Thank you, Rick.
All right. Well, thank you, Constance. Oh, my goodness, I'll tell you, it's crazy, right? It's absolutely, but aren't you glad you're out? We're all glad we're out. And, I'm not picking on the Jehovah's Witnesses per se. I'm not. I pick on the Watchtower, but I'm going to tell you something. It is getting crazier by the day. There's things that I wouldn't even bring up tonight. I'd be too embarrassed to bring it up. Really, some of the sexual perversion, geez, my ears would, some of the things I hear that's going on in the organization. In fact, I'm going to tell you what, coming up next, our next program is going to start here in about, I'd say, well, about 15 minutes. We have Joe Dyer. Oh my goodness, you guys all know Joe. He was an elder, and he wants to come on tonight and tell his story, and he has a lot to say. He was involved in cases where he saw sexual perversion at the highest level going on in the Watchtower. He's going to talk about that tonight. And then he mentioned something to me today that I understand. He told me that, when there's a judicial committee hearing, that the elders ahead of time know how they're going to handle the case. If they decide ahead of time, it's called prejudicating. If they prejudicate ahead of time that Brother Fearon is going to be disfellowshipped, it doesn't matter what Brother Fearon says. He's going to be disfellowshipped. Joe Dyer's coming on tonight. You don't want to miss his interview. He's going to tell you things you never heard before. He's coming on tonight right after this call. So stay with us. Did you want to say something? Run with us. Go ahead.
Rick.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, you guys were reminding me of something, what you're talking about. I think I was in my 20s, so it would have been in the mid 90s. There was a Sunday talk. I don't remember the name of it, but basically the elder giving the talk said something to the effect that, excuse me, he said something to the effect that if your life as a witness, if you feel like you're having a good life right now, if you feel like things are going pretty smooth right now, you might want to reflect on your life and see what you're doing wrong. Because the more that you're doing as a Jehovah's Witness, Satan is going to be attacking you. So basically what the brother it was kind of like a guilt talk in the sense that if Satan's probably leaving you alone because you're not a threat to the organization or you're not a threat to Jehovah. So if you're having a too good of a life or you don't have a lot of stress, then you're probably doing something wrong. So it was like imprinting upon a Jehovah's Witness or anybody listening is like you had to be miserable. Your life had to be hell. And if it wasn't, then you're doing something wrong. Anyway, I just wanted to share that because I remember that in my 20s thinking something's wrong.
Well, Daniel, you just jarred my way of thinking. I remember that. And where would you ever read that in any book, any psychiatrist, anyone? Would you ever hear that from someone? If you're doing good, it's because you're doing something wrong. I mean, talk about the ultimate guilt trip. That is not necessary to lay that on a person. Geez, if you're doing good, you're doing good. That means God is kind of working with you. But geez, the witnesses have to take it and turn it all around and make it a bad thing. Geez, be happy people are doing good, Geez, they want to make us slaves. That's what the Watchtower wanted to do. They want to make us slaves. The worse off we were, the better they could control us. That's exactly what happens in that organization.
I'm not sure they have. Oh, that's what I heard. If you're doing real good, maybe you got a contract with a different guy.
Well, I never heard. I mean, I have what Daniel said. I heard that before. I really
I know,
did.
but I heard the other way too.
Oh no, the other way too, Pixie. No, I can remember once in the hall. I remember a sister came up to her and said, "Gee, sister, I'm kind of depressed. I'm not doing good." And the sister in the hall said, "Well, you're not supposed to be depressed if you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses. You're supposed to be the happiest person in the world." I mean, so they go both ways with things. They really, yeah.
Both of those are wrong and toxic. Life doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. But I used to hate that too. Oh, well, Jehovah's Witnesses are the happiest people in the world. There's no reason for them to be depressed. Everybody gets depressed about something. But geez, these guys, boy, did they play. I mean, they rented space in your head. They rented space.
Oh, they
and,
did.
Yeah, it was just too much. And people have been driven over the
Yes.
edge because of it all.
Yeah.
Sure they have. Rick, I was going to say that, they loved it to hear when you were doing bad, especially when you got disfellowship. You left the organization. They wanted to hear that life was going horrible and you were doing so horribly bad. I remember that real well.
Yeah, I call that Salem witch trials. There's a certain kind of person gets off on
ma'am.
suffering.
It's
yeah,
really,
they were just, they're sick.
Well,
sick.
Well, they're very sick, but we can all discuss it. We're all sitting around the couch here tonight, and we're discussing these things because we've all been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. So it's just amazing to me that, when you talk to an ex-witness, they get it. They totally get it. But you talk to a person that never was a Jehovah's Witness, it's very hard for them to understand it. But these guys really did. They had total control over us. Everything we did, every second of the day, these guys were. There's an ad on TV.
I know what you're saying. Rick is trying to talk Chinese to somebody that's from America. Oh.
You're working in a little office for a job at half the salary you should be making, man or woman, and Christmas rolls around and they know you don't do the Christmas party. But your boss comes with a plain coffee mug, and you're really needing a coffee mug because you broke the last one. But it's got some Christmas candy in it that's good candy, high quality candy, but it's got a Christmas foil around this candy that you normally would eat.
You can't have it.
Now, most of us, we might take the mug. We probably would throw the candy away, but whether we took the mug or turned it down, we would all have a guilt light in our head, a fog light of fear, obligation, and guilt about a $3 coffee mug with $1 worth of candy in it.
Absolutely, Pixie. It's unbelievable. But I'll tell you what, I feel like I'm flapping my wings. I feel like doing the happy dance, and I've been feeling that way ever since I left the Watchtower. Geez, your life is so much different. Your life is
yes.
The word is freedom. That's the word.
Isn't it wonderful to be free?
Yeah, you feel free. And, that doesn't mean that you're going to go out and do everything in the book that's wrong against God. But, I feel free that you're not so burdened by an organization that just loves to grind you into the dirt. That's all the Watchtower does to people. They love to make...
And you're free to educate yourself. You're free to read and learn. You're free to relax. You have a Saturday where you can sleep in for your health. You're freed up to be a healthy, happy, balanced human.
You can enjoy life and live. Well, thank you, Pixie. Thank you, all of you guys.
We're all very courageous for leaving, and we're all very brave for leaving with our heads on straight. And I just want to send love, light, blessings, and grooviness out to everybody. And that next show sounds fantastic.
The next show is going to be good. Now, we have a man coming on. Now, you don't want to leave us. This is Joe Dyer. He's done some YouTube, but he has got a lot to say tonight, and he's going to spill the beans. Joe is going to spill the beans tonight. We have the 6 screens of the Watchtower conference call coming up in just about 5 or 6 minutes. So stay with us.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
I want to hear his show and grind us into the dirt. It was well said, Rick. That's what they did to me, you, and everybody else that's listening to this program. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's it. That's exactly what they do. But no, we've got a number of programs still coming up tonight. And I want to apologize. We had some issues. Evidently, we were live streaming on 2 different networks and something got confused. But we'll make sure that the next broadcast coming up will be clear and be no problems. So thank you for understanding that. But the 6 screens conference call coming up next will be no problems on YouTube or Facebook. So stay with us. And we've got also coming up at 11 o'clock. We've got a great program coming on. You don't want to miss this one either. Man, do we have some good programs tonight. I tell you what, it's got my attention. We have got Gail coming in from Houston, Texas. She's a former Jehovah's Witness, and she has Gilbert Gonzalez. He's going to be on with her tonight. And Gilbert Gonzalez is running for the governing body. And it's kind of like a satire, but he's got some information he's going to share with you tonight that's going to really get you thinking straight. So he'll be on tonight. Gilbert Gonzalez. We all love Gilbert. We love Gail. They're coming up at 11 o'clock. And then if you can't sleep tonight, if you get up at 12, midnight, 1 o'clock, and you pacing the floor and you don't know what to do, well, listen in to Apostasy Babe. She's your favorite apostate, and she'll be on tonight about 12:30, 1 o'clock. And, talk to Linda. She'd love to hear from you. So she's coming on tonight. We're looking forward to her as well. So it looks like we're just about going to wrap up here, but I want to tell you, I had fun tonight. And, we've been doing this for 16 years. I'm having an awful lot of fun. And what's making it fun is you guys calling in. I look forward to Saturday night. So Saturday night is like I invite everyone to come in and we all sit around the couch and talk. And we've all been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. So we really love it when the people call in. We love it when the people listen in too. And our little network's growing. Our little niche network is expanding and getting bigger all the time. And that makes me feel so good. So if you like what you hear here on the 6 screens, well, go ahead and like us and subscribe. And what that does is, I think you guys know it, but there's algorithms on YouTube. And the more comments and the more people speaking up and saying things and watching it, YouTube likes that. And that reaches, well, they put more advertising out for you and you get more people to come in. So we're trying to get the witnesses to come in. So that's how you could really help me and help the 6 Screens Telenetwork here to be able to really reach out and get to talk to more people all over the world. And it's kind of a unique format. We're really one of the only ones that do these live programs. Sometimes they go off pretty smooth, sometimes they don't. But we do it because we want to talk to witnesses and people that are having difficulty in real time. And we are here because you are here. And before we leave, too, I just want to mention to our friends in Florida, there's a lot of people that listen to this program in the great state of Florida. And those poor people have been hurt. And our hearts go out to all of you guys in our prayers. And we pray that things can go well, especially for the people right there at Ground Zero, right at Fort Myers. That is terrible what you see on the news. So we wish you guys all the best. I know it's been a devastating few days for you guys. And we pray for you, and we hope that things can get back to normal pretty soon for you folks. So we want to thank you all for coming in tonight to our program. We are pleased that you come in. It means so much to us. And when you speak up, man, I'm going to tell you that's everything in the world. So, in the future, if you guys can muster up the courage and call into the 6 Screens, we certainly would love to hear you. So that's going to do it. There'll be no 6 Screens Sunday tomorrow. 6 Screens Sunday is every other week. So we'll be in 2 weeks. And we have a number of programs starting on October 16th. We have some new programs that will be starting on our 6 Screens Telenetwork on the 16th of October. So we're looking forward to that. And it's just amazing to me. And I'm so happy to see so many people leaving the Watchtower. And the only thing I have to say at the end of every broadcast is the last one, leaving the Watchtower. By all means, turn off the new light. Folks, keep cranking away at it. Don't you ever give in, up, or out. And we're watching the Watchtower collapse. Thank God for that. We're going to end the broadcast. We come back in just a couple of minutes, and we'll be back on with another program, the 6 Screens Conference Call. Thank you all.